Do you know that Batman loses his first encounter whenever he fights an opponent? Or at least that's what some people want you to think. Sure, it's a common narrative in comics or stories in general for the hero to lose their first fight only to come back and become triumphant in the rematch. But does Batman actually lose all his first encounters with his rogue gallery? You know, as a father of 3 boys, one of which is a newborn, Sesame Street plays a big role in our family. And it teaches an important lesson. Something that all of you can apply when you hear something like Batman loses all his first encounters.
I wonder, what if? Let's try!
You can simply ask yourself, I wonder, does Batman lose every first encounter? What if people are being disingenuous and they're lying to me? Let's try and read the comics. So I've compiled together all of Batman's first encounters with his major rogue gallery as well as some of his minor rogue gallery. And we're going to see exactly how often he really loses first encounters. Well, let's start off at the beginning with the Joker. Batman, issue number 1. In their first encounter, Batman and Joker actually have a bit of a back and forth. Joker is able to keep Batman on his toes with getting a few hits in, as well as even using gas. However, exactly as you would expect, both Batman and Robin beat the shit out of the Joker in their first encounter. In the same issue, we see Batman's first encounter with Catwoman. And not much to see here. Robin tackles Catwoman to the ground. Batman reveals who she is. Game over. Let's do one a bit more recent. Batman issue number 2, the first encounter with the Court of Owls. This is Batman's first time fighting a Talon, and as you can see, he's Bruce Wayne in this. A bit of back and forth, both of them out of the window, and it ending with Batman victorious. Shit, do you know Batman and Bane's first encounter wasn't in Nightfall? Batman, Vengeance of Bane, issue number 1. And in their first encounter, they don't even fight each other. Bane's not ready for the Batman, so he just bitches off, which leads him to enact his plans during Nightfall to wear down entire Batman before he fights him. What about Ra's al Ghul? Batman, issue number 244. Ra's and Batman have a beautiful sword fight with the setting sun, and Batman is going relative to one of the best sword fighters in all of DC, until outside interference from a scorpion. Talia gives Batman the antidote, he gets back up, finds Ra's al Ghul, and then he just simply one-shots that motherfucker. Speaking of assassins, what about Lady Shiva? Detective Comics Annual number 1. Lady Shiva and Batman have a short sparring fight with each other, in which Shiva herself says he's the most skilled, most determined, most artful fighter in the world. And the fight just ends. But if that's not enough for you, how about we go to the first real fight they had, which would be Batman issue number 427. This is the death of the family fight. And throughout the majority of the fight, Batman and Lady Shiva are going relative to each other. There, of course, is context to this fight. Despite it being evenly matched, Robin, Jason Todd, does interfere, which allows Batman to get the upper hand. But you know what? Let's talk about another martial artist before we go back to villains, and that would be Batman, Brave and the Bold, issue 132, the first encounter with Richard Dragon. And again, Batman fights Richard Dragon, the two of them go back and forth, going relative to each other, and eventually the fight just stops, with it being equal. What about the first canonical encounter between Batman and Solomon Grundy? Batman The Long Halloween, book 2. Batman's in the sewers, finds Solomon Grundy, takes a punch from him, then proceeds to punch him multiple times. Solomon Grundy gives him a nice big bear hug. Batman grabs something from his utility belt and sprays it in Grundy's face. And then Grundy just walks away. Detective Comics, issue number 66, the first encounter with Two-Face. In this issue, Batman and Two-Face have a couple encounters, like this one where there's multiple goons attacking Batman at once. But at the end of the day, it's as it always is, Batman on top. What about Riddler, his first encounter with Batman in Detective Comics issue 140? This is an interesting one because the two don't actually really fight. They go into a fun maze of puzzles and various other traps, but then when Batman gets out, fucking Riddler runs and swims away. Riddler, what were you doing? This is first encounter. Batman always loses them. Well, let's not forget about good old Poison Ivy. In this first encounter, Batman really doesn't get into a fight with her, but he does batarang her off a wall and then throws her in jail. What about KG Beast? You know, the big bad KG Beast. Batman, issue 418. First encounter with KG Beast and Batman starts off with KG Beast spraying him with a gun. Batman tries to pursue him. KG Beast is able to get away, but then when they re-meet, Batman's all about that life. And don't get me wrong, KG Beast, he holds his own, but he does what a lot of people do, run away. But KG Beast, what are you doing? It's the first encounter. You should have the advantage. Batman always loses the first encounter. Why are you running? Why are you running like a little bitch? Why? Funny enough, you know who's had some pretty damn good success in their first encounter? Detective Comics, issue number 58. The fucking Penguin actually does better than the majority of Batman's rogue gallery. Mostly because he gasses him the first time. Then when they re-meet, he gasses him again. Ties up Batman. Robin comes in, gives Batman the chance he needs to get out. And then Batman proceeds to beat the shit out of Penguin. Kudos to Penguin though. He did better than most. But at the end of the day, those fists of justice are coming down. What about Killer Croc? Batman issue number 358. Croc walks in and Batman's just sitting there looking all dapper as fuck. Croc goes to attack him, even using a gun to cause an explosion. Batman doesn't give a shit and Croc runs away. Croc, why are you running? Why? This is first encounter. Batman's weak in first encounter. It's like a grass type going up against a fire type Pokemon. What about Mr. Freeze? Batman 121. Freeze actually has a decent first encounter against Batman. He freezes up Batman and Robin to the point that they were in blocks of ice. However, they break out of the ice and beat the shit out of Mr. Freeze. What about Man-Bat? Detective Comics, issue number 400. Their first encounter wasn't really much of an encounter. Batman comes in confrontation with him, spooks the shit out of him, and then he runs like a little bitch. Again, why are you running? All these people are running. It's the first encounter. Shouldn't Batman lose? This is a fun one. Batman, issue number 59. The first encounter between Batman and Deadshot. Yeah, good old Silver Age, Golden Age fun. Batman defeats Deadshot in the most hilarious way possible. He uses psychological warfare, making it so he can't aim and shoot. Batman wins. What about the Scarecrow? World's Finest, issue number 3. Scarecrow, like most people, are running from Batman. He gets one good hit off on the Dark Knight, which does allow him to escape. Again, why are you all running? But when they encounter each other again, it's all just the same. The dynamic duo takes out the Scarecrow. What about Hush? Batman 619. You know, of all people, Hush actually does better than most. The two of them go at each other with guns and fisticuffs and batarang. Back and forth is pretty dead even. Batman is getting more hits off on Hush. But like I said, Hush does pretty well. So well that he's able to actually match Batman and kick him to his car. And instead of continuing the fight, Hush blows up the Batmobile. And by golly, Hush actually succeeds. Well, Jim Gordon and Dent are there and end the fight. So kudos to Hush. You actually had the advantage. What about Mad Hatter? Batman 49. This fucker Mad Hatter just can't win. He gets jousted. He comes at Batman with an axe and gets knocked the fuck out. What about Clayface? Detective Comics issue 40. Once again, Batman and Robin beat the fuck out of Clayface. What about Firefly? Yeah, that's goofy as fuck. Once again, Firefly is running the whole time, but Batman and Robin do what they do best and take down the big bad, capturing the evil. And listen, that's not to say Batman can't lose his first encounter, like against Deathstroke or Prometheus. But if you look at it, Batman wins more often than he loses. And he has a better track record than Spider-Man. Look at all of his first encounters, like against Doc Ock, or check out the first encounter between Red Skull and Captain America. You'd be surprised on how often Marvel characters lose their first fights. But going forward, next time you hear something negative about Batman from a Marvel creator, remember these steps. I wonder, what if, let's try. Don't fall victim of confirmation bias. And don't listen to liars.